When I was in the 4th grade, I dedicated myself to the art of perfecting becoming the aloof yet charming class clown. The John Arbuckle to my Garfield persona was my teacher, Mora Hirschkop. Every day I would walk into her class and sing and dance her a good morning jig. The genre varied depending on my mood. Sometimes I favored opera. Good morning, Mora Hirschkop! She would respond with a grim, classic, signature John Arbuckle expression. This was wonderful. It only made my classmates laugh more. She was the perfect, supportive co-star. Everything she responded with me, it just amplified my already excellent performance. Every day, I thought of new ways to get her to kick me out of class because when she did, she would grow red in the face, dart her arm up and say, "Out!" screaming at the top of her lungs. Her head looked like it was about to explode. It was magical. When she would kick me out, I would try to keep the laughs going, so I'd say something like, "Oh no! Where will I go now?" And my classmates' laughs would wash over me, and I was addicted. I wanted more laughs, so I would experiment with different accents, different gestures, different physicalities, just to get the biggest laughs. Now, understandably so, I caught notice of 2 boys in my class who admired my work. Rightly so. Danny, or Danny A as he was called, as there was another Danny, was like a troublemaking ninja. He was a veteran. And David was more an admirer of the troublemaking arts. David was a silent investor in our enterprise because David had the best snacks always. Sometimes he had these fried, crunchy things called beastlies, but sometimes, even better, he had packets of ramen noodles, and he would use the little packet of salty, spicy deliciousness and sprinkle it on. And he would break off pieces, and he would use this snack to entice us to perform pranks of his choosing. Now, maybe it was the noodles, but I prefer to think that Danny A was a little jealous of my limelight. So he started ramping up things with Mora Hirschkop. He really was upping the ante. He was on like a 3-day blowout blitz of arguments with her. It was very fun. And each day was building on the last day. And on day 3, Mora Hirschkop leaned over Danny's desk, looked at him straight in the face, in the most serious face I'd ever seen her make, and all of her faces were very serious. She said, "If you keep talking, you will regret it." This would be a showdown for the books, so I settled into my seat. Danny looked at her, like right at her, so I knew it was on. Finally, he said, "Oh yeah? Like what I'm doing right now?" I looked at Mora Hirschkop for her expression, and actually I had a pretty good view of her face. So as I was looking, I noticed something was going a bit weird with her facial expression. She didn't look like our co-star anymore. Something was off, and I started to feel quite uncomfortable. It didn't feel fun anymore, and I was starting to feel sad and alone, the way that I thought I would never feel again once I had adopted my class clown Garfield persona. Danny and Mora Hirschkop were staring at each other, and it was like all the air went out of the room, and myself, I was brought back to the previous year, grade 3, where my classmates were more likely to laugh at me rather than with me. In grade 3, my teacher, Maura Carmel, used to keep track of all of the times that she caught me losing focus in a little corner dedicated to me, in the corner of the blackboard. She would walk over there, write my Hebrew name, and make a line every time she caught me lost in my thoughts. I had a lot of lines. Sometimes I would be trying so hard to pay attention, but I'd be so distracted by my name on the board. And I was in the front row. So all I had to do was look up, and there was my name staring at me, alone, reminding me that I could not do whatever it is I was meant to do. Now, also beside me in the front row was a nice and quiet boy named Jeffrey, who sat by the windowsill. Now, Jeffrey had Tourette syndrome. I knew this because he was invited to give a talk to the whole grade about it during something called Sensitization Week, which was a week designed to make us more sensitive to people who were different than us. For Jeffrey's talk, we all walked down to the lunchroom and sat on the long benches. Jeffrey was there in front of us. I stared at the smiling banana and the winking carton of milk that were painted on the wall behind him. Jeffrey told us all about Tourette syndrome and how sometimes he did things that he did not want to do. At the end of it, he confidently answered our questions. I paid attention to every second of this. In fact, it was the most interesting thing I had learned all year. The teachers were there, the principal was there, and so were his parents. And when it was done, we clapped and we were all proud of him. Jeffrey was allowed to have this red box of Premium Plus crackers that he kept by his seat at the windowsill, and he could eat whenever he needed to. Now, I was so jealous of these crackers. Not that they looked like the most delicious crackers, although they did say that they were salted, but I was so jealous because these crackers gave Jeffrey something to do. And I desperately needed something to do. All I was allowed to do was sit and pay attention. Now, I tried many, many ways to relieve my stress of sitting still. I tried shaking my leg, even though it was my own leg, not allowed, no. I tried writing on my desk, even though it was my own desk, not allowed, no. I tried stabbing my own erasers, no. I tried chewing my pencils, no. I tried playing with my own hair, biting my own nails. Nothing was allowed. The teachers didn't exactly put me in the same category as Jeffrey, no, and I wasn't in the same category as the other kids. So I didn't really fit anywhere. The only word that was consistently applied to me by all the teachers was misbehaved. My mother did not appreciate this at all. I would often overhear her on the phone with the school. I can only imagine what was said on the other end of the line, but my mother would respond in her deep, powerful, some would say intimidating voice. Listen, there's nothing wrong with my kid. End of story. Goodbye. To me, she simply said, listen, you're smart, very smart. You don't pay attention. End of story. My mother was a force to be reckoned with. She was a single mom, and we definitely weren't the average family at our school, but I knew that after the parent-teacher interviews, people were quite a lot nicer to me, and I assumed that's because my mom had made an impression on them. Now, back with Danny and Maura Hirschkopf, I am feeling the Garfield class clown persona just being threatened and slipping away. Maura Hirschkopf is growing redder and redder in the face. Her gray short hair is sticking up in all directions as if propelled by static electricity. And then the unthinkable. she lifts her arm and smacks Danny straight across the face. An audible thwack echoes throughout the classroom. We all know something big has happened, and we go silent. We all know we have crossed a line, and we can never go back. Nothing will ever be the same again. Moore Hershkopf is absent for several weeks. When she comes back, she is sad and quiet, and her class is not fun anymore. There are no more exchanges of beastlies or ramen noodles. Danny and David start playing something called magic cards, which I am not invited to play. And there I am for the rest of elementary school, back at square one, trying to find out where I fit in. Now I work at a school, and it is true that we know a bit more about ADHD now. Yes, things are a little better. Yes, we have bike pedals and fidget toys and things like that. However, quite often, I hear an adult refer to a child's behavior by saying something like, "Oh yeah, that kid just wants attention." To which I reply, "Great! Let's give them as much of it as we can." Thank you.